Did I miss somebody? I think your names are there, guys. Val? All right. Good job. Let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have a little chat here, and then we're going to open up for questions from the audience. Maybe we can be provocative in terms of talking about the film that we just saw, as well as the book that's a part of this process as well. Ben, how did it begin?
Well, I guess it all began at Northgate.
Most of the time, things end there, but go ahead.
Unbranded started for me with a guy named Parker Flannery in 2009. We were drinking tequila, and we had this idea of we should ride horses through Colorado. So then in 2010, we did, and then we went through Wyoming and Montana too. And then we finished that ride, and then I looked back on it and thought, if we did something like that again, then people would really want to watch it if we filmed it. And then also we used Mustangs on that first ride, and they did a really good job. And I kind of looked into their story and wanted to kind of also tell their story, and that was kind of the inspiration for Unbranded, was to do this big ride. And then it took Jonny all of about 10 minutes to talk him into it. and Tom held out. It took you probably 3 or 4 days to fully commit.
Yeah, I had a pretty serious girlfriend at the time. She's now my wife. Yeah.
So tell me about the book, the idea for the book, and how, was it movie first, book first, both of them? It just sort of, because books are normally not what are talked about at Northgate.
We had this idea to do this big trip, and then we also wanted to document it. So we decided to raise funds through this company called Kickstarter. By the way, do we have any of our Kickstarter donors in here? Would y'all mind standing up? Thank you. Thank you very much. So that right there goes to show you how much support we had from Aggie Land. It was really, really tremendous. But we raised $171,000 in 45 days, in between $5 and $10,000 donations. It was incredible. And that was our seed money to make the movie. And then producer Dennis Egg and Cindy Meal, who also made the movie Buck, I'm sure y'all have seen it, or some of y'all have, they came on board. And the book was actually a byproduct of the Kickstarter. We promised that if you donated $250, we'd send you a book. We didn't know how to write one or anything.
Or how you were going to get it published.
Yeah, we hadn't even written anywhere. And I called Shannon Davies from Texas A&M Press, and after we finished the ride, they helped us organize our thoughts and put the pictures together. And the book has a lot of the stuff in the movie that, or a lot of stuff that isn't in the movie that we didn't have time to include. And actually, every single person in here wrote chapters of the book. A big cumulative effort.
You got some other help, too, in terms of wild horses, like Mustangs?
Yes, we did. Is Callie in here? No. Oh, hey, Callie. So Callie Sublette has an organization called the Extreme Mustang Makeover and the Mustang Heritage Foundation. And how many Mustangs have you gotten adopted recently?
6,200 since 2007.
That's crazy. So we called Callie and said we needed some good horses, and she said you should look into this TIP program where professional trainers put the first 30 days of training on the horses because, they're wild horses. And we used Lanny Leach and Jerry Jones, and that was really crucial to the success of the trip. But they, if you want to know how to help out the situation, talk to Callie, because she can hook you up with a really good Mustang, or like 1,000. And it's just a great organization.
This is a kind of a linear question, like, what is your what memory do you have most of all, or what sticks out most from the trip if you have to choose? And I don't know who I'm going to put on the spot first, but I guess the guy who got the weird haircut while we were gone. You don't look a thing like that now. Tell me a couple of moments, Tom, that just
Besides
really
getting my mullet.
Yeah, besides your mullet.
One of the better moments was obviously when Katie came and surprised me in Jackson Hole. I had no idea.
You weren't in any shape to see her either.
No.
Do you remember
4th
it?
July, it was the end of the day. I thought we were going to dinner, which we were at dinner. We went to dinner eventually. But, I just thought she was one of the crowd. But, yeah, that was fun. One of the things that I look back on is Glacier National Park there at the end. It was, besides being the most scenic part of our trip, it was there at the end. It was a great place to really just reflect back on the trip in its entirety, and being surrounded with. We saw tons of animals, moose, goats, and bears, and all kinds of stuff. And it really slowed down there at the end in a good way to get us the mind right and thinking about the whole trip and getting ready mentally to be finished with it and all that. So that's kind of what I look back on and remember the most.
Jonny?
I'd say for me, what didn't make the film that I probably enjoyed the most was just all the really unique personalities that we ran into. And, there's dozens, but just to give y'all small examples, there was a German fellow outside of Salt Lake City that took us in one night. We didn't have anywhere to stay. We suddenly found ourselves in the middle of private land when it was getting dark. And this guy lets us tie 15 Mustangs in his front yard and then takes us in, cooks us a giant dinner, lets us all shower. And this guy had a essentially homemade house that was originally a one-room cabin, and every year he adds a different room onto it, and has a moat dug around it, and a trout pond under his stairwell. Oh, inside. So, the characters were just endless. We met a guy that is a professional frog hunter for the federal government.
Wait, he's a federal employee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and he shoots frogs.
Thank you.
We met a crazy miner that swore that mercury wasn't bad for you. That was really what was the most special to me, was just the people we met.
Dennis, I saw some cameras on some cowboy hats, but talk to us about the actual challenges associated with filming what was a beautiful work. I mean, the cinematography was absolutely fabulous.
Well, that's right, and we've gotten some awards for it, and we got our first cinematography award last week, finally. Because everybody, it's one of those things where Phil, who is the lead DP, and Corey Kuchmark, did such a good job that we got all these reviews. It's it's stunningly beautiful, and then we never got nominated for any cinematography awards. I'm going, where did they think this came from? But the real challenge was how you do that kind of a film with only two filmmakers at any one time. I've done films with like National Geographic and stuff, and when I'm among filmmakers in those sorts of like festivals or whatever, you always get a question. Well, did you have like a support vehicle, with other people? And we go, no, they were on horses just like the guys were, and they had to learn how to ride because they really didn't know how to ride. And they had to pick equipment that would work that way. Now, Phil did a great job. He'd done a lot of that, before I actually got on the movie. But they had to do some experimentation. Probably the biggest innovation, and the one that is the hardest for me to talk about because I started my film career as a location sound recordist, is there was no sound person. And what they did was Luke, the sound horse, as we call him now, Luke, the same one's outside. So they put hard disk recorders on Luke. They did what we call jam syncing, and then put wireless mics on all the guys. And that's how we did the sound recording. And Luke did an incredible job, I guess, by not falling off a cliff or something with all our mics. Thanks. And so it was, and we, as you said, we had GoPros on people. And Tom was, I think, the main GoPro guy.
It was something to do.
And we also did a couple of days with drones. Yeah, but only a couple of them. Some of those shots that look like they're drone shots are really either Phil or Corey up on a hill somewhere, panning and tilting. So those were some of the challenges. I mean, they were considerable. It was, I think the look we have is of a film that, had many more resources and more people than we actually did.
Cindy, would you do something like this again?
Would I do something like this again? Well, I'm the mom on the group. They called me mom, and they called Dennis.
Yeah, we were the parental
Dad,
unit with Val. We were the mature people.
Absolutely. We had a great time doing it. I had come off of doing Buck, and the reason I came on is I saw their Kickstarter. Somebody sent it to me. They said you're going to love this, and so I looked at it, and I'm weeping during his speech on Kickstarter, and I reached out to him because I thought, they can't make a movie for $150,000. I better help them out and tell them a few things. So we started talking, and within, a month, I just said, he kept saying, don't you want to work on this film? And I just kept saying, no, I just did a horse film. I don't want to do that. But I found myself on a plane. I said, I'm going to come meet you. And I have to see you in person. Like, I'm not going to ever sign on to your film if I don't know you. And I remember I came out to Texas. I was in Laredo or someplace with you and Ben Thamer in a tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere. And, if I survived that, I thought I could survive anything. So I kind of got hooked.
Glad you came, Cindy.
Well, thank you, Ben. It was fun.
So, Val, what advice did you give these guys that they didn't take?
I personally don't remember, Fred. I just, they're my boys as far as I'm concerned, and I just had to look out for them the best I could, and I'll guarantee you, that guy up there, we were extremely, extremely blessed on this thing. No question in my mind about that. Well, maybe one of the small things, and
I knew there was something they didn't do.
Well, that picture in the book, that was my book, and that horse actually got a thing called fibrotic myopathy. I didn't think they'd understand that lingo, so I just said it was like a Popeye muscle where it just gets snapped. But, Ben just didn't want to take our advice to start with on that, which is all right. That good judgment comes from experience from bad judgment, and those things happen. That's the way we learn. You don't get my age and have as many been tore up, beat up, shot up, whatever, all that stuff you want to talk about in your life, and not learn a thing or two, or you better. So, yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. I love my boys. That's it.
Thank you. All right, let's have a little interaction with you folks in the audience. Microphones are in the aisle. We have somebody coming. Well, I thought you Bush ambassadors were going to ask a question. You just said in the microphones. All right, question. Here we go.
That gentleman right there.
Yes, sir. Film, where does it go?
Where did the film go? So we played in film festivals this year. We played at Hot Docs, which is in Toronto, Mountain Film, I don't know, probably 10 or so film festivals, Germany. And then on September 24th, we released in about 125 theaters. And then since then, we've been in about 200 theaters. And we'll probably be, before it's done and over, in at least 200 more. So it is out. It was in theaters from September 24th to October 3rd. Now it's available to the general public. You can get it on iTunes, on Amazon, Google, DirecTV, Dish, and then I think about 20 other places you can get it right now. And then on November 24th, we'll have our DVD release.
It's a great Christmas present, the DVD. Good stocking stuffer. Don't forget it.
Would you ever consider going to Australia and doing the same thing with Brombies, with the wild horses in
Yes.
Australia?
Ben, was there ever a time when you wish Parker was with you on this second trip?
There was a lot of times where I wish Parker Flannery was with me. He's the best horseman I've ever seen.
Well, he's waiting for you in Australia.
Parker and I are doing a 1,000-kilometer race in Mongolia this August, so it'd be good to rendezvous.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on the film that y'all shoot a lot of the horses. Was there a reason why, being Mustangs and having the tough feet, that you went after? Why did you shoot them instead of leave them natural?
Well, basically, yeah, they got really tough feet.
Yeah.
4 of those horses, Luke and Tough and Ford and JR, they came from me and my wife. I got a lot of these BLM horses. I've been breaking them for years. And when Ben said I need really 4 solid, good horses, Cindy and I sent them because they would take those novice film guys and then pack that equipment, and there wouldn't be any problems. But still, I live in those hills, and it's a lava rock and a lot of some granite in places, and they can go. They can travel without, but it's just like if you just take an emery board in the end of your fingernail and you just keep going like this, well, you're okay for quite a while, but when you hit the quick, it starts to hurt. And that's what happens. That hoof wall just slowly gets sandpapered, abrasive wear, and then it gets down into the sole level, the horny sole, the bottom, and then that starts, and then the rocks start hitting in the sole, and they do very well, no doubt about it. But there comes a point where you got to help. You got to help them out if they're going to go far enough under the correct conditions. If this was all done in the sand hills in Nebraska, we'd never had to tack iron on them.
Plus the added weight. When you put a person and baggage on a horse, it's not like being, free without somebody on them.
Yeah, I mean, I have horses of my own, so I understand that the shoes, they do help, especially with weight distribution and everything. But I was just curious because I saw it and I was like, if they're taking wild Mustangs and they're taming them, why would you shoe them? You want to try to keep them to show how hardy, the hardiness of the horse. So I just noticed it and I was curious.
Yeah, a lot of it is to get from one national forest or national park to the next. We often had to get on like a caliche or sometimes even asphalt, and that really fine rock just wears through it. And we could have risked it, but it wasn't risk worth than our risk worth risking the horse's health.
We don't use flat plated shoes or like Eventers, style of shoe you know of, but we toed and heeled and then borium with tungsten steel in chips in the borium, and that because the flat shoe itself, the iron would have wore out 2-3 times faster than they did when we welded that on them.
It is worth noting, though, that we did not have a single hoof problem. We had a muscle problem, which was my fault, and then we had a ligament, or was it a ligament problem? But not a single hoof problem.
Hello. Did you go down the both the south rim and back up the north rim of Canyon on horses? I wouldn't even go down it on mules. Second question is where did you find those 20-inch cutthroats?
up near my cabin.
Yeah, they were between the Grand Canyon and Glacier.
No, actually, they were under the staircase at the guy's house where they said, if you could ever get invited to his house. Yes, ma'am.
I wondered if there were any long-term hard feelings over the four of you not finishing together.
Do you want me to take that one, or?
It's kind of like family. You love them sometimes and you hate them some other times. But, you do something like that together. At least I don't have any ridiculously hard feelings.
Why do you think I'm sitting in between them?
Thank you.
There you go.
How hurt was that horse that fell down the cliff?
He's standing out here.
He's outside, so he did okay.
He did all right.
He had a few small abrasions on him, but it was a miracle he didn't get hurt.
I want to talk, Johnny, about the kind of ceremony with cricket there when you took out your knife.
Yeah. So, it's just kind of a spur of the moment deal. Not really something I thought through, but, losing a horse that's come through so much with you so suddenly like that, his tail I took with me is kind of, I guess, a token to our friendship and everything he did for us. And, he still hangs on my saddle horn, so still think about him every time I mount up.
Okay.
Do you have any regrets of not finishing with the others?
Getting right to it. I get this question a lot, as you might imagine, and having been 2 years, you'd think that I'd get it down, but it's the answer is different almost every time. Regrets, no. The only thing I regret is my delivery. It wasn't something I fully decided on until that moment. It kind of been something that was stewing. I wish it was something I had decided much earlier and talked over with the guys, so I didn't have that shock factor. But I say no just because that mile to me is something that I hold on to remind me of the reasons why I really did the trip in the first place, which was for the lessons learned. And I think about that mile every day, and when I think about that mile, I think about the things we did right and the things we did wrong, and all the lessons that we learned that really made the trip worth it. Forget the movie, forget the book, forget all that. That's really why, when you boil it down to the nuts and bolts, why we did the trip.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the average age of the horses you took with you? And on average, Val, do these Mustangs have a longer working life than our domesticated horses?
They were about between 5 and 8 years old whenever we got them. I think Tough or Luke may have been a little bit older.
Tough and Luke Tough was probably about 16, 17 at the time. You got to understand, these horses live a lot longer than you think. He's an old horse.
That's why he's so quiet.
Yeah, he's a tough horse. And that's why I call him tough. But anyhow, hey,
that's right.
You just got to understand, I always use this analogy and I'll make it quick. You take all the calf roping horses, all the bulldogging horses, all the team roping horses at the NFR rodeo in Las Vegas, Nevada. Last year, the average age of those horses was 19.2 years of age. Now that's a fact, because most of those are registered horses, and you just get solid as you get older.
I like that.
And I'm 76 years old, and I'm working on it still.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for Val. When they approached you on this, that a bunch of young college boys want to ride across the country with horses, how did they ever get you into this?
Very simply, when Ben in 2010 with Mike and Flannery came through, Parker, they came through by the cabin. That's when I first met them. Ben is a big time, loves to hunt. He loves that country in there. We're very well known as an elk hunting country. And he talked to me, and I got him fixed up as a guide with an outfitter friend of mine. He goes up there and guides in the fall. And then he knows my background with these wild horses, and he said, Uncle Val, he said, look, I want to do this. Will you help us? And I think in the book somewhere he says that, that I was he talked to me right from the get-go, and I just participated. And I'll make it a quick story how I did. That I'm sitting at home, and he calls me up, and he says something. He says, hey, listen, we got a little problem down here in Laredo, Texas. I said, what's that, son? He says, we're having trouble picking up some of these horses' hind feet. And I said, did you try a sideline on them? And my wife's sitting not much further across than Dennis, right across the table, and she looks at me and rolls her eyes, because he says, what's that? I get through talking with him. I said, love you, son. Here's what we're going to do. And something like that. And I hung up. I said, I'll call you back. I hung up, and Cindy, my Cindy, looked at me and just said, honey, get Smokey, load him in the trailer, get your stuff loaded, and get out of here. Go be with them.
Yeah, but did you know what you were buying into with those other three whippersnappers that were going to be on the trip as well?
Actually, no, because I had not met any of those until I got to Laredo. Because Parker and Mike, of the three that first came through in 10, Ben was the only one that I had met to then.
You guys lucked out.
We did, and I actually hadn't met Tom before we were already planning on riding 3,000 miles together.
Neither had Thamer. I didn't know either one of y'all. I just knew Ben. I took his word for it.
Here we are.
We were stuck.
I'm beginning to worry about your judgment, guys. All right, we've got refreshments outside. We've got the silent auction outside.
How come you didn't feed me dinner, Freddie?
It's not, we ain't done yet. It's early. It's early. We got some refreshments outside. We've got the silent auction going on the photos. And before we go, Anna's going to help me present some tokens of appreciation to our team that has been with us for sharing not only this wonderful evening about your wonderful adventure, the great movie, the great book, the partnership that we've been able to have with our colleagues here at Texas A&M. It makes it all special, and we appreciate the leading by example that you guys have done as a part of this process. So thanks very much, and here's to the Mustangs, and thanks for all you do for them. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Fred.
I got one thing, and I want all of us to do it for you. I have sung and entertained for a lot of years besides ride tough horses, but if it wasn't for you guys, liking this, supporting it, believing in us, my boys and stuff like that, hey, we wouldn't be here. So here's to you.
Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. You can find out lots of stuff on Facebook. So we love our fans.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys outside in the lobby.